Hi, my name is Jessica Mayer. Thank you for coming to inform your community celebrating crafting event. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am wearing a black dress with little woodland flowers and deer and squirrels and little acorns. So my background is a piece of art, and at Inform Your Community, we offer events that are fun while celebrating, having while celebrating important topics. You can visit us online at www.informyourcommunity.org. We're also on social media at the bottom of our website. Tell a friend, sign up, join us, help join our mailing list at our website too, which of course is www.informyourcommunity.org. And of course, click that donate button. We need your money. And if you're watching a recorded video, like and subscribe. This event celebrates and this is a create and celebrate event, which is for children, engaging them in unique craft, inspiring a monthly inclusive theme. This month theme is community policing, because a lot of people misunderstand and fear this topic. One of the it is especially hard for Black families, who some say that they have to have the talk with their children. Educate your children about what is safe interactions with the police, racial disparities for this community. On the other hand, 40% of police officers, Americans, do not understand the risks and challenges. 40%, on the other hand, 40% of police officers do not understand the risks and challenges of police work. Clearly, it's an important topic for you to be educated. Though throughout the craft, we will have questions for our guest speaker, who Stacy will introduce. Also, Stacy is our resident crafter and also CEO of Inform Your Community. Hello, Stacy. How are you doing today?
Hey, Jessica. I'm doing well. How are you doing today?
I'm okay. It's a rainy day. It's great to be crafting.
That's great. It's a good time to be inside and crafting. Thank you so much, Jessica. And just to clarify, I think the statistic that you were saying, it's 40% of police officers say that Americans don't understand what police officers go into. I think that's the one you were saying. So, and I'm so glad to have Heidi here as well. Absolutely wonderful. She's an associate professor at Northeastern University, and she actually does research on and does training for 911 dispatchers, which is really cool to have you here, Heidi. Thank you so much for being here.
Happy to be here.
And thank you again, Jessica, for introducing us. So I'm so excited to be here for this craft with you today. We're going to be making our little capes, and you may say, like, why did I pick little capes to make? Capes to make. So you'll see them here, and there's some over here as well, different little versions. Why do we have these capes that we're making? And so I associate capes with police officers because I think police officers are in their own way like superheroes. They're the first people that we go to when we're in a crisis situation, when we're in an emergency, when we need help. And I think a lot of the values that we associate with police officers are similar to the values we associate with superheroes. So things like trust, respect, commitment to duty, service to others. These are things we often associate with police officers. And just like other local, state, federal employees, police officers are public servants. They're here to serve. That's the kind of expression that we often hear used. And they're here to kind of keep the peace. That's one of the other roles they serve. And so this kind of celebrating Peace Officers Day is a great time to celebrate police officers as a type of peace officer. But other folks that we come to know and love and need in times of urgency are other first responders and other public servants, so healthcare workers, social workers, educators, fire department, and so forth. So and those 911 dispatchers as well, which is very important. And indeed, when we need to be rescued for something, when we need help, when we're in an emergency, dialing that 911 is what we do. That's an important thing for us to do in order to get to that police dispatch agent. So in some ways, that's very similar to a Batman signal, if you like the Marvel characters, right? So you have the Batman signal, we have 911. So I thought superhero cape would be a great thing for us to do in honor of Peace Officers Day. So speaking of superhero cape, without further ado, let us get started. And I always start by talking about what items we need for the craft. I would say everybody in the craft is going to need scissors. Whether you have our kit or not, you're going to need scissors. You're also going to need a pen of some kind. So those are two things that everybody is going to need no matter what. If you are bringing your own materials from home, then what you are going to you're going to want is, let's say, an old shirt. You want something that's kind of cotton fabric, linen fabric. So maybe an old t-shirt you can use would be a great item to use for this. But in a pinch, if you don't even have fabric and you don't have our kit, you can even use like index card or cardstock. Even if you have an old card that you don't want, you can whip off the back of the card, save the front of the card because that often looks pretty, whip off the back of the card or cut the back of the card and use that for our craft. So if it's a thin enough cardboard, but a little thicker than paper is useful, you can also do this temporarily. And what you'll end up doing is making a template, which you can then use later once you find the right fabric for the craft. So either way, you're going to make a cape today, whether you have our materials or not. Also, if you have your own materials at all, I recommend having a little bit of glue that helps. Stick glue, white glue, both of those are great things because you can always add that to the ends of the cape. Sometimes if you're using a material, it will fray. If you see like this one, you've got these little edges fraying. If you just put a tiny bit of glue on that, not too much, but you can use stick glue right across it or a tiny bit of white glue, that will stop that from fraying and it won't discolor the material too much. So you can use glue for that. Even if we don't mention that later and yours starts to fray, you can go ahead and do that on your own. You also may want, if you have it, it would be great to have a hole punch. If you're using materials from home, if you have ours, you don't need this. But if you're using your own materials, you want to have a hole punch. Or in a pinch, if you don't have a hole punch, that scissor is going to help you. And Tyler, thank you so much for putting that in the chat, which is great. So you know which material's there. Also, because we just like to, have fun with our crafts. We like to have lots of different embellishments. So if you've got some kind of sequins or some stickers, you can see here, I've got some little jewels. Stickers will do. Some ribbon, you can see this has some ribbon on it. Oh, hold on, trying to get the right angle there. Oops, there, nope, that was it. There you go. You can see there's ribbon on that one. So ribbon works. So you can grab these from your home. It helps to do the craft. If you have a Lego in your house, go ahead and, sorry, I have to get used to this angle. There we go. Nope. I'll get used to it. There we go. Okay. So If you have a Lego at home, go ahead and get your Lego piece out. So you have that handy so you can try your cape on right once it's finished. Like I said, glue and yeah, that's it if you're using materials from home. If you have our kit, this is a very exciting kit because you've got a few bonuses. Usually we don't have bonuses in our kit. This time you got some bonuses. So you've got some stickers. We're not going to use those in the craft. And this one is just mail carrier, but most of you got police officer or could have been nurse. It could have been firefighter, but you may have gotten just some fun stickers. You can just set those aside and use them on whatever you want. We're not using those for the craft. That was just a bonus. You also, very lucky this craft, got a minifigure. And Tyler, you're going to kill me because Tyler's helping us out with tech. But Tyler, you're going to kill me because I ran out of minifigures. So I know I was supposed to send you a kit, but I'll see what I can do. Okay.
That looks so cool.
So we've got some you all got a minifigure if you got our kit. You also got some material. Usually you got, usually it might have been white, but otherwise it was a kind of a maroon and a green material. It already has whatever material you got, it already has the holes in it. And you've got these stickers, like foam stickers in different shapes. I've got some flowers, I've got some stars. And then you may have gotten, you would have gotten some jewels, hearts, and some just little round jewels for your kit. And what else? You've got the Lego figure. Oh, and you would have gotten this. This is key. Actually, you would have gotten this version. So you have a little template maker right here. And this is something you can actually, if you have happen to be able to scan something in your house, you can go scan it real quick. So you have another version of it, but otherwise, or photocopy it. But this, you're only going to pick one today. But then you can make the other ones later on if you want. Okay. And as you can imagine, those holes in the cape is how that's going to get stuck onto your Lego figure. Okay. So let's see.
That's a lot. Well, I guess while our crafters are getting all their supplies in order, I wanted to maybe introduce you to the idea of community policing.
That would be great. I'd love it if you did that. Thank you, Heidi.
Oh, sure, of course. Well, collaboration with the community and law enforcement toward a goal of identifying and presenting or solving issues in the community, it's really important. The name for that is community policing. There's 4 important parts of it. So first, did you know that most police don't really live in the neighborhood that they serve? And since they don't, you didn't know?
I know, I didn't think that.
They could be in the town, they could be all over the place, right?
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So they commute to work like other people. So community-based crime prevention involves people who live in the community. And if you live in the community, you know that you're the best help possible because you know what's normal in your community or what seems safe and right. Sometimes people stereotype police as robots who are just there for emergencies, but police help in a lot of different ways that people don't even know about. And they help in ways that are not related to emergencies to help their community. So it's helpful to focus on non-emergency things like services they provide to youth programs. They show up and support the kids in the community. They can assist with noise complaints. So if you have school and people are, cheering on a game really late, they might knock on the door and say, can you turn it down a little bit? And then they also do neighborhood events and security. So that's like crowd control, like when you have a parade and, you want to make sure that people are safe. Another aspect of community policing is the idea that there should be increased accountability to local communities. So you can think about it like this. If you're taking food orders at a fast food restaurant, you have to pay attention to what your boss tells you, but you also need to listen to what your customer tells you. So the local community for any police precinct are the customers for that service of policing. So listening to the needs of the community, the local community, and encouraging the community input to say what they need, right, is really, really helpful. So if people feel like they need more police during parades, then you should let them know, right? If people think that they want to have more programs and they want police there, then they should let them know. And then last, police departments are very hierarchical. And that's a really big word, but hierarchical means that there is a chain of command. So in community policing, instead of having like a chief and then everybody kind of reporting to the chief, there's a desire for more flexibility in how police can respond and make decisions, even at lower levels, that can be responsive to the needs of the community in that moment. And that's really helpful. And so that's called decentralized command.
That makes a lot of sense, Heidi. That's really, I appreciate the in-depth. I love starting off knowing what we're talking about, right? We're here to talk about community policing. So it's good to have a nice in-depth definition. Thank you so much, Heidi. I want to know more about all of this, but first, I think we've got to get to this craft. We've got folks who are very eager to get to the craft. So first thing you're going to do is pick your cape materials. So you have, as we know here, you have your 2 pieces that you got in your kit to choose from, or whatever you have at home. So you want to decide which one you want to use. You can save the other one to use at a later time. Okay. So let's say in my case, I'm going to use the kind of maroon red one. Okay. So I'm going to put that down. Also, you want to think about which cape do you want. So in your case, you can use any of these 3 that came with your template. And I know there's some of you who don't have our kit. We'll talk about how you're going to do it in a second. But for those of you who do have our kit, you want to pick out which one you're going to do. In my case, I am going to do this one here at the end. So I'm just going to separate that one. So I know, okay, that's the one I'm using, and I'm going to put those other ones away. So now I know those are the 2 things that I am going to be using from my kit. Let's see. And like I said, you can put those other ones aside because you can use those for later kits, which would be kind of fun, right? To do that craft at a later time. If you don't have our kit, I think all of you folks may know what a U shape is like, right? What a U shape is. And if not, you probably have an adult around you to help. But basically a U is just like that. That's a U. Okay. So for those of you who don't have your kit, whatever material you're working on, if it's cardboard or if it's that fabric, I want you to go ahead and make a U. And I want that U to be about the size of your thumb. Okay, that's about the right size. If you're particularly tiny, you may want it to be about the size of your finger, but you see I'm bigger, so my finger gets a lot bigger than that U. But around the size of your thumb, if you're doing it at home without our kit. In that, and that's going to be the start of your cape. The other thing you're going to then do, okay, you have your U, but then you're going to take the little points of that U and you're going to go across them, okay? And that, for our purposes, is going to be your U shape, okay? Your cape at home. So about the size of your thumb, okay? Don't worry about the whole part yet. We're going to take care of that. But for now, all I want you to do is go ahead and make that, draw that U on the material you're with. Once you've decided your cape from our kit, or once you have your cape that you've hand drawn, you're going to cut the outline of it. Once again, don't worry about those little holes. Don't do anything with those. I just want you to cut around that cape template. Okay, that's all you're going to be doing, is just cut around. And if you can't see this other screen that I have here, you might want to swipe and see if you can see it. If you swipe your screen, it might be in a different image. Okay, but I'll put it over here as well. So you're going to just cut around that cape. And if there's a little divot in that cape, a little part that it goes in, you want to kind of follow that pretty close, as close as you can for your cape. Okay. And then if you didn't have our cape, you're going to do the same thing. And I wouldn't worry too much if it's not even. You see, this one that I made is this one I made is a bit more even than this one. It's okay. When it's a cape, it's going to be flying, right? It doesn't really matter. But if you want to try to even it out, you can do it as you're cutting it, like I just did. And then I am cutting this one out as well on here, okay? And so on this side, if you did it on your own, you'll notice I've got a little bit of mark on there. Okay, in my case, I used an index card, so you see the other side has lines, but actually that kind of makes a cool pattern. So it's okay. So you don't really need to worry about the side that has the lines on it. You can just flip it over and use the other side, okay? Or you have the one we made here. Okay, so now you've got that, you're working on that. Don't cut the holes, but go ahead and cut out your piece. And you know, Heidi, depending on where you live, you might see a lot of police officers, you might see less police officers. I live in downtown Manhattan in New York City. There's lots of police officers on the subway platforms, in the neighborhood. We see police officers all the time. But I don't know, what about you in your neighborhoods?
Oh yeah, definitely. I've noticed a difference depending on where I've lived or traveled. I mean, I live in a small town outside of Boston. I hardly ever see police. Every now and then I see them, but not as much as in Boston.
That's right, exactly. And I want to take a moment to mention this kind of important factor of density being something that affects how many police officers there are, because sometimes we're like, oh, well, I don't see any police officers here. And sometimes that has to do with something called density. And that's like the amount of something in a given space, right? So if it's more dense, there's a lot more of that thing in a smaller amount of space. If it's less dense, there's less of that thing in a bit, and it's a bigger space perhaps. So, so in New York City, there's a lot of people and not that much space. So in New York, for example, there's 655 police officers for every 100,000 people. Wow. But New York's small, right? Right, that's like a lot, right? So for every 100,000 people, there's 655 police officers. But New York's small. In Utah, which is almost twice the size of New York in terms of space, for that same 100,000 people, they have almost half the amount of police officers, 293. Because they just have more space, so people are more spread out. We don't need to interact with each other. You know, sometimes you may like not want to see somebody, and in Utah, you don't have to necessarily, right? Maybe you can go a block or 2 blocks, and maybe you don't even see somebody. Maybe you can go miles. In Manhattan, you see people all the time, no matter where you are, because it's a really tight space.
Wow, I hadn't really thought about the density of communities being so important for police work, and to other public servants and first responders as well. They all work together to help communities be safe. I guess to prevent and respond to crimes and emergencies, and also get the resources they need, they all need to work together. But considering that there were well over 213 million 911 calls in 2021, it doesn't surprise me.
How many?
Yeah, 213 million calls across the country.
That is a lot of 911 calls.
It is a lot of calls. It sure is. Well, hey, speaking of resources, do you think the crafters are ready for their next step?
I think so. I should get started on that, right? Okay. So, so you've made your template, whether you used your home materials or not. And by the way, here's one that I made while Heidi was chatting. I made this one. So again, it's got this on the line on here, but it's plain on the back. So you can just use that other side of it. So you have your cape. Now you want to actually use that template and you want to put it on your fabric. Now here's key. Okay, you notice that our little template has, and this is one of the harder parts of this craft. Our template has 2 holes on it. Okay, because that's it. In order for it to be on the little Lego figure, okay, you have to put the cape onto this. So there's got to be holes in that cape to get it over the Lego figure. And by the way, I used little Lego capes in order to make those. So these, if you have our tool at home that we gave you in the kit, these are the right size for Lego figures or other minifigures. So you'll notice too in your material, and it's a little hard to see, but maybe you guys could see it. I can figure out where the top of there we go. So there's the holes. Okay. So what you got sent has holes in it. Okay. So you're going to try to match the holes in this over the holes that are in the cape. okay, and the fabric. So the fabric has holes and this has holes. You want to try to get the holes over the other holes, okay? Now you're not actually cutting out the holes yet, but you just want to make sure that it's in the right spot. Now you may have picked out the cape design that only has one hole in it, in which case what you're going to do is put that one hole over the other one hole. Okay, so this is the template, put the one hole over the other one hole and lean it as close to the side as possible. And you're going to love this. The reason why you're going to do that is because if you do, you'll have enough room to make 2 of those capes later on the same piece of fabric. Okay, so it's fine if you don't do it. If you do it like here, it's fine. You just won't be able to use that fabric for anything else. But if you want to make the most out of that fabric, take that hole, put the other one over it as close to the end as possible. And then you're going to cut it and you'll be able to use that other piece later on. Okay, but the one I'm using has 2 holes. So I'm going to put it right, my 2 holes over these 2 holes. And if you should err on the side of putting it higher than less high. Okay, because if you rip the holes, then that's a little bit of an issue. But try to put this a little bit higher than you think you need over those holes. Okay. And then what you're going to do is cut out the fabric. Now this is a little hard because you kind of have to do it in air. Okay. So you got to really hold your fingers together over this. Okay. And then very gently and slowly, you're going to cut out the fabric with the little template you made. And if you have any questions, by the way, feel free to put them in the chat. If I'm going too fast, if I talk too fast, by all means, just put your questions in the chat. Or if you can't see something here, let me see. There you go. If you can't see, yeah.
I'm so mesmerized by your project, Stacy.
We do try to make a good project, I will admit. And some of our folks here today are repeat visitors, so they know.
Yeah, I'm absolutely. Well, I mean, I guess while you're working on that, I have a little trivia for you.
Oh yeah, tell me.
Okay, so did you know that although there are a lot of police officers, law enforcement in the United States started with just 13 U.S. Marshals appointed by George Washington in 1789, over 200 years ago.
Wow, it just started, we're 13. And it doesn't, I mean, 200 years ago doesn't sound that long either. By the way, before I go on, because I wanted to, I have a trivia for you too, but before I do that, I also want to mention, if it's a little difficult to do it in air, I'm going to show you what you could do, and probably maybe even a better idea, which I'll do on this one, is make the outline of your fabric with your pen. If you have a pen that works, it's better. Make an outline of your fabric, of the template onto the fabric first. So if doing it in air is a problem, that was kind of advanced, so I apologize for that. You can go ahead and make the outline onto the fabric. Okay, make your outline right onto the fabric, and then you're just cutting the fabric. And that's easier. So you just cut the fabric along the outline. That's much easier than the way I first had you do it. So sorry about that, but you can just cut the fabric then. So, okay, so I have some trivia for you too, Heidi, because I didn't know that. But did you know that the first police department was in 1838 in Boston? And that what might surprise you even more than that is that it was started for what they called slave patrols. And that was to kind of enforce discipline around misconduct, so to speak, around the slave trade. So for example, for slaves who were trying to escape or to be what they might call defiant. And I apologize because I got a visitor. Did you guys see my visitor in my little craft here?
Oh my God. Yeah.
My little cat came to visit. So
Stacy, that
yeah.
sound like a great idea by today's standards.
No, that definitely does not. Now, my cat being here is a great idea, but that whole slave trade history of the police department, that is definitely not. But it's not a great idea by today's standards by any means. It shouldn't have been by those standards either, one would hope. But it definitely does help to explain. My cat's just hanging out. It definitely does help to explain that why there might be some, still kind of lingering roots to the statistics that Jessica mentioned earlier about kind of the Black community perspective on police, and not everybody, but some folks, and Jessica mentioned the talk, versus the police officers thinking that, you know, people don't necessarily understand all the hardship that they go through. There's definitely some history there. And of course, violent incidents certainly have happened. Most recently, of course, George Floyd in 2020, and Rodney King in 1991, which was, you know, the first huge televised kind of racial incident with police officers. And so you're seeing my cat here knock things off my table, but it's a very difficult history, and so it certainly does explain some of what we hear now in terms of interactions with different communities and the police, and certainly related to what's known as the defund the police movement as well, which we will talk about in a little bit. I think I did that a little prematurely, but I hope that we'll talk about it in a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean, you're bringing up things about the interactions, and then when you have mental illness as part of the interaction, that makes the crisis situation even more complicated. And these days, law enforcement can get crisis intervention training, which does provide a week of training to specifically focus on how to identify and react to mental illness incidences in the community. That's
great. And that's really important. And education in general, as we know, important. And, you know, fun fact, I didn't know this before I started to kind of research this topic for our event today. 49% of police officers have a bachelor's degree, and then another 29% have associate's degrees. So our police force out there, it's, you know, they're pretty educated police force, which is always good to know. And, yeah.
Oh, I was gonna add in a couple of things. I mean, one is that police always still get continuing education, as do 911 dispatchers. They always go to conferences and they have additional training. So they're always being updated. So even beyond their degrees, they never stop learning. But are we almost done with the craft, right?
We believe it or not, yeah, we just have a few steps left. And by the way, you can trim your craft your cape at this point if you think, oh, it's a little bit, you know, something's jutting out there or not. But you see, this is the one that would have been like a made at home, right? Yeah. That looks great, right?
Yes, it looks like a little ghost.
Right. And then this is the one you made, or actually I should say, this is the one we made with our kit. Oh, cool. So a few things we have to do. We have to decorate it. We have to put the holes in it, and we have to put a slit in it. So first thing, what I want you to do is I want you to, we're going to make the holes. Okay. And so if you have a hole punch, that's kind of easiest. My hole punch is kind of a very small hole punch comparatively to a normal one. If you have a normal size hole punch, okay, and I'm going to show you this on the cardboard, you're just going to poke a hole towards the top, like eyes. So as Heidi said, it looks like a little ghost. So you're going to make little eyes. If you have a hole punch at home, yours is going to probably be a bigger hole punch than mine. So just make sure they're separated enough. Okay, you don't want the two holes very close, especially the cardboard, it'll just rip, but your cape also eventually it'll tear. So, and we need to do one more thing in between that. So we need to have space. So make sure you put your holes at least a bit farther apart. If you don't have our kit, here's what you're going to do. I'm going to show you on the screen that has my face on it. You're going to fold your material in half, whatever it is, whether it's the cardboard or the fabric. Okay, so here it is with the cardboard. Here it is with the fabric. Okay, and yeah, and then you're going to fold it in half again. So you're folding in half, okay? And then in another half. So it's kind of like you're a little accordion, okay? A little accordion. I'm going to do it on this too. So half, and then half again. A little hard to see. And then half again on the other side. Okay. So you've either got something like this or something like that if you use the cardboard. Now, the side of this that has two, that's the side you want. Okay, the side that has two. like a two creases on it. You don't want the side that is like this, that looks like an airplane on the bottom, like a paper airplane. You want the side that would be like the top of the paper airplane. By the way, I never noticed that it looked like a little mini paper airplane before, but it totally does. It's so cute. So a little mini paper airplane, you want the top part of that paper airplane. And what you're going to do is, you can do it two ways. You can do one side at a time, or you can try, if it's easy enough for you, maybe if you're a little bit of an older kid, you can do it together. You're going to do one little incision towards the top, but not too close. You never want to be too close to the edge. So I just did one little incision, like barely cut it. I don't know if you can even see how small that little cut is. It's like so tiny. I can't even show you. There you go.
Oh,
Such a tiny little thing. Okay, very small incision in one direction, a little diagonal. And then the other side, you could see the angle of my scissor. Okay, the other side, you're going to do the other direction. Okay, that's if you don't have a hole punch. If you have a hole punch, you've already done this. Okay, but then you see you have your little cape piece. Okay, this side, okay, it didn't come out as well. So now I can just fold this one over, and I'm going to do that one over. Again, just this tiniest incision on each side. And now they should be more matching. Okay. And now if you have the fabric and you're doing it with the fabric, it's going to be something similar. Okay. Again, make sure you're not doing it too close to the edge. You're going to do a little incision on the fabric, tiny. And then incision, I just mean cut. And then the opposite way. Okay. If you've ever made like snowflakes, this is that same idea. So you'll see mine is kind of underneath the other one. So the top ones are my hole punched ones. And then the bottom ones are the ones I just did with the scissor. And really, because we're dealing with something so very tiny, look, you can see me through that. How funny is that? Because we're dealing with something so tiny, you can't tell that it's a diamond shaped versus a hole shape. It doesn't really matter. Okay. So there you go. You only need one set of those eyes on here. You don't need those 4 sets. I was just doing that so you can see the difference. Now, let's see. What we also need to do here is make a little cut. Okay, so I'm going to do this a few times to show you. So you have your little eyes, okay? And you're going to make a cut like that, right in between your 2 eyes. Now, if you're doing it on cardboard, be careful because it could just rip. You don't want it to rip. So be a little gentle when you do it. If you're doing it on fabric, you have a little bit more here. I'll show you on this one. Actually, I'll show you close up here. Okay, on this one, you're doing a little incision, a little cut right there in between them. I would aim for cutting less than cutting more. You can always cut more, but it's hard to take back a cut. So here. Okay, so now I've shown you a few different ways. You've just got to cut that. So if you're not sure if you've got the cut in the right place, and my cat knocked over the Lego I was using before, so I've got to use another Lego now. Here you go. So I took off the head, but you're going to go ahead and you can just put that hole, one hole over the Lego. And if you only made the cape with one hole, you only need to make the one hole. Okay. So in that case, you're just going to have it like this. So you're just going to fold it in half. And that little diamond thing I did, you're going to do it here. Okay. Like this. And then like that, you can do it. And you have that essentially the same type of a hole. Okay. But you only need one in that case. So here, so you can put it over, and then your other one, you put over it again and see if that hole fits. And then you have your cape. Now I'll try this one. That's my diamond shaped hole that I made. Okay, I have to do my incision a little longer. Mine is back farther. And then also my diamond shaped hole over the Lego head over there. And look, my little cape. Okay.
I love this. This is so awesome. I remember another cute figure related to this topic, by the way.
Oh yeah, what?
Do you remember McGruff, the crime dog? He's an animated dog in a trench coat. And there used to be the commercials about citizens helping take a bite out of crime.
That's right. That is right. Oh, McDuff oh, that's right. Right.
McGruff.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I haven't thought about that in a long, long time. That's fantastic. Well, speaking of time, we are almost done with this craft and we are almost out of time. We got a little bit left though. If anybody's got any questions, let me know, but you can see here the different capes, what they look like when you put them on. And that's all you do to put them on, by the way, is just do one hole over the neck, like so. Oopsie. One of the holes over the neck, and then the other hole over the neck. If you only have the one, then you just need to put that one hole. And then when you put the head on, you've got your little superhero. So you put the head on, and then it stays in place. And by the way, there's a few other patterns that Lego has used for capes. They probably have more than these, but this is another cool pattern. This is another cool pattern that they've had for capes. So they have lots of cool cape patterns. And if you're doing the one with just the single, then it's like this. Now I happen to have made a little, in this case, my diamond that I made as a whole actually becomes a cool design on this cape. So that's kind of cool. In theory, you can even do some more of that because now we're at the stage of decoration. So if you did want to decorate, one way you could decorate is by making more patterns, kind of like I said, if you've ever made snowflakes as a project, you can kind of make little patterns in it. Okay, pretty, so that's kind of fun. Yeah, let's see how that looks. So now we've got this like, oh, can't really see, there you go, diamond shape pattern on this particular Lego. But if you remember, especially if you have our kit, for sure, you've got a whole bunch of embellishments that we could use. So, and if you have your own, so this is my little patterned one. If you have your own embellishments, that's great. Make sure you have your glue handy. And now is the time you can actually start decorating your craft with your stickers. And I don't have a whole lot of instructions on that, except have fun, right? So this is your Lego craft. In theory, you should do this on the one side, right? And that way, because nobody's going to see the bottom of it. So you can just do, you know, however you like it to look. You can use your different supplies that you have. These are all stickers that you got sent. If you have this at home, you would do really the exact same thing, but you would do it with, you know, you need a little bit of glue probably, unless you're using stickers as well. So here's one. I just put some embellishments on.
That's
I'll do
cool.
it on this as well.
I love it. Couldn't they make a reversible cape if it was on both sides? Could you do that?
That is a good idea. Yeah, I don't see why not. So you have this on this side. I'm going to test your theory. And we'll see. I'm going to do, in this case, I'm going to do, whoops, I'm going to do a heart. And if for any reason our embellishments that we gave you or don't stick or anything like that, sometimes that happens, by all means, you can just attach them with glue. And by the way, same thing also, if you have that one that you made, the paper one, same thing, by the way. I'm going to shock you in a second. I am going to test out your theory, but here, so if you made the paper one, so same thing. Really, this is just your model, maybe your template for when you do find some fabric. But otherwise, very, very gently, because paper does have a little bit of give, but not a whole lot of give. Cardboard, not a whole lot. Let's see if we can get it going. You're going to have the paper one. If you do it gently enough, the other one went on much more easily. Let's see. There we go. I knew I can get on. You just have to be really gentle if it's cardboard. Okay, so this one's cardboard, but look how cool that looks. You can't even tell that this is cardboard, right?
That's awesome. I love it. And it looks like he's flying.
Right. And that, yeah, that's true. Because it's got a little stiffness to it. And you can decorate it the same way. you know, put your stickers on it. But let's test this two-sided theory. So I put some embellishments on both sides now. Let's see. And we're going to test the two-sided theory. I've got another little Lego here. And whoops. We'll test another little minifigure. Test a two-sided. Oops. See doodle. Okay. There you go. So that's the one side. Yeah, you can't tell there's anything underneath it, right? And so, and then look, if you want to make it so that he's flying, then it's cool in the back, or she's flying, it's cool in the back. I love it.
That's so cute. I love it.
So, and I've got here, my Lego figure with long hair, my minifigure with long hair, and it still looks great. Even on a long hair minifigure, arguably it looks even better, right? So, okay, that's fantastic. And like I said, you can decorate the paper one. Now, the cool thing too is also depending on the fabric you use, if you're using or material you're using, if you're using the paper, for example, even fabric, depending on the fabric, you can draw on it too. You can paint it. You know, there's all kinds of cool things you can do to decorate it. You can make really intricate fabrics. Like I said, we have this one that we did cutouts on. So I think that's basically it. I wanted to show you, you know, there's other fabrics we can use. These are kind of like upholstery fabrics that I just happen to have swatches of. So this one, you see, it's a non-fray fabric. This one also is kind of like a non-fray fabric that's kind of upholstery type tapestry fabric. So is actually, these are napkins, believe it or not. We found these, and they're napkins, but because they're tearaway napkins, they don't fray. It's how they treat the material, which is super cool. So, but if it does fray, if you're using a material that frays, then all you have to do is go ahead and use that glue right on the end of it, and that'll stop it from playing. You can cut off anything that frays and use the glue for it. So I hope you liked your minifigure capes, whether you used your materials at home or whether you used our little kit that it came with, and you have your superhero. And, you know, Heidi, thank you so much for all your fantastic insights and trivia. Lots of stuff I didn't know in there.
Thank you for having me. This was fun. I loved it.
And Jessica, do you want to take us away? Jessica will talk us out with from the conclusion. And Tyler, if you want to put Jessica on screen, that'd be great. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. And Jessica, take it away.
Okay. Thank you all so much for coming. And thank you, Stacy, and thank you, Heidi, for your great insights and for our discussion about community policing. And thanks also to our wonderful crafters who will see this. And we hope that you enjoyed this project. There will be more projects to come to help us. We will send out the video. We will send out our event video infographic in a follow-up email by the end of next week. We also encourage you to do things like go up to a police officer, talk to one, and to commit yourself to doing a couple of things like getting informed about the event and volunteering with community policing events and to help on Child Fingerprint Day and get involved in the Police Athletic League to foster relationships. We, you know, this conversation's often a hard one, so I invite you to do something. learn more. And our next crafting event for children is Juneteenth on June 17th. We will learn about about Black Lives History, Juneteenth, Black Lives Matter, and more. Tickets, material, we will be making felt bookmarks, and tickets, materials, shipping is also, and shipping our materials is free. Including in your email will be a brief survey. Please take the survey and let us know what your event, how you enjoy the event. Our next, isn't the one on gun safety before the popcorn is there? The popcorn.
That's a good question. I don't remember actually.
Yes,
Actually,
yes,
no,
it is.
you're right. You're right. It is. So we do have another event but on gun safety. That's a discussion event. And then we have this one that you were going to tell us about. Tribal justice on I think it's June 22nd. So
Okay. All right. And we have a lot of things that are going on. We also have a fundraiser coming up. So we invite you to partake in our fundraiser, and thank you so much for coming.
and actually I think we have to do one more thing before people go. We have a poll, right, Tyler?
Yep, the poll should be up.
Okay, fantastic. If you don't mind taking that poll, that would be great. Just take a minute to do that. We always appreciate your feedback, and thank you so much. Again, Heidi, this is fantastic. I'm trying to put the little minifigures over here with their capes on them. And thank you, Heidi, so much. And thank you, Jessica and Tyler, so much for your help as always as well.
Well, thank you, and bye to all our crafters.
Thank you, crafters, for coming.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks, Heidi. Bye-bye. Thanks, Tyler. Thanks, Jessica. Bye, everybody.